say you wanna watch a drama. You say you wanna watch a comedy. Well, you can watch it with your mama, or you can watch it with your daddy.
You'll even sit and watch it with your middle schooler, so you can come and talk around a water cooler. We're watching all day and all night.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa.
Couch potatoes unite.
Whoa, whoa. Couch potatoes unite.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Which is based on a blog of the same name because it ain't exactly the 80s around here, despite our lustrous aerobics-ready hairdos. Yes, that was the best I could do. I am the blogger in question and the self-styled Chief Couch Potato. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU! Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays. And as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the pals and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, via Google Play, Spotify, and now on iHeartRadio and on CastBox to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including but not limited to Supernatural, Orange is the New Black, Gotham, the Marvel shows on Netflix, Stranger Things, The Good Place, and iZombie. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for Grace and Frankie, Altered Carbon, Doctor Who, Schitt's Creek, Westworld, Riverdale, Fuller House, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. The DCTU series will catch up on the first two seasons of Black Lightning, and the Star Trek 50 Plus series will talk season 2 of The Next Generation. We'll be launching new panels covering Charmed, Outlander, the Breaking Bad universe, This Is Us, and the Orville. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll put out some musical stops for our crazy ex-girlfriend. We'll revisit one of the all-time and most-watched classic sitcoms, MASH. We'll consider the moral implications and quick cancellation of Dollhouse, and we'll travel through time and experience all sorts of identities with Quantum Leap. By the way, did you know that CPU also from time to time goes live? We've been live from bunkers, comedy shows, Comic-Cons, and game stores. Plus, we're planning more live appearances and other cool stuff, including in these semi-quarantine times. So make sure you like or follow us at our Facebook page, our Twitter at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, or subscribe to the website, our YouTube channel, our Apple iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and on CastBox. In the meantime, if you don't hear your show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we always seek new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback. Just avoid going the Mr. Jingles route. Today, we're around the water cooler as a continuation of one of CPU's ongoing podcast series. This series does not have a fixed number of episodes like other series we do. Rather, it is ongoing, as the show is still on the air. However, we've covered over multiple episodes, as it is an anthology series. So welcome then to the 9th episode of our American Horror Story series. In this series, we've already discussed Season 1, which is subtitled Murder House, Season 2, Asylum, Season 3, Coven, Season 4, Freak Show, Season 5, Hotel, Season 6, Roanoke, Season 7, Cult, and Season 8, Apocalypse. Today, we move to the 9th season, officially subtitled 1984. Each season is conceived as a self-contained miniseries following a different set of characters and settings, and a storyline with its own beginning, middle, and end. Some plot elements of each season are loosely inspired by true events. The 9th season, subtitled 1984, takes place outside of Los Angeles, California during the titular year, 1984, and focuses on a group of young staff members at a summer camp getting ready to reopen after a massacre. 1984 follows Brooke Thompson, played by Emma Roberts, as she travels to a remote, newly reopened summer camp known as Camp Redwood to work as a counselor following a terrifying encounter with serial killer Richard Ramirez, played by Zach Villa. Those traveling with Brooke include preppy Xavier Plimpton, played by Cody Fern, athletic Chet Clancy, played by Gus Kenworthy, easygoing Ray Powell, and spunky Montana Duke, played by Billy Lord. Upon arriving at the camp, they encounter its owner, the deeply religious Margaret Booth, played by Leslie Grossman, who was once a camper there, and who has her own experience surviving a killer. Other residents of Camp Redwood include its nurse Rita, played by Angelica Ross, activities director Trevor Kirchner, played by Matthew Morrison, and Camp Chef Birdie. Not long after the counselors settle into their first week, news breaks that deranged murderer Benjamin Richter, also known as Mr. Jingles, played by John Carroll Lynch, who has a violent history at Camp Redwood, has escaped a local insane asylum and is presumed to be heading for the camp. However, as the season progresses, more secrets unveil about the counselors as well as flashbacks detailing the history of the camp. As we sit around the water cooler for our American Horror Story series of podcast episodes, we also continue another not-so-new development to the CPU structure. As you may already know from time to time, some familiar voices have taken the moderating reins to give yours truly, i.e. me, a break, or a chance to be an ordinary panelist where appropriate. As such, for this series, we decided to rotate moderators, and for today's episode, Sarah returns to the moderating microphone. She last moderated the Roanoke episode. Flashing back to 1984 with Sarah and I are our returning American Horror Story panelists, Nick, Emily, Kylie, and Eddie. With that said, and as always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed all of American Horror Story to date and may discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who have not watched any of American Horror Story, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Sarah to the moderating microphone. Take it away, Sarah.
Thanks for the intro, Kylie.
You're welcome.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
How's
Sarah.
everyone? Hi. Thanks for being part of our radical American Horror Story panel. Get your bangs spiked high and your spandex on, and jump right in by answering our standard CPU character question. First, tell your first name. Then you're going to identify yourself as one of these characters. It doesn't have to be your favorite character. It's where you rank on how much you liked this season. I'm giving that caveat because I feel like people didn't like very many characters. But we'll get there. Are you super psyched by this season? 2 thumbs up, recommend it. But not 2 ears because you only have one. The only thing you love more than this season is money, camp, and your personal relationship with your Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. Not necessarily in that order, like Margaret Booth. You kind of like this season. At least it's a distraction and an easy place to hide so that you aren't recognized as an amateur porn star. And hey, it's better than being locked in an oven like Xavier Pennington. This is the perfect season for you. You have the hair, the eyeshadow, and the exact evil revenge plot to enjoy this season of American Horror Story. Now, if only the plots of this season were as finely tuned as your booty, like Montana Duke. Oh, honey, this season had its ups and downs. And while it didn't turn out so well in the end, much like your plot to find the truth, at least you were the final girl like Donna Chambers / Nurse Rita. This season is no good. All you wanted to do was be in a Jane Fonda workout video, and you ended up here. Some good times were had in the lake with Montana, but otherwise you cannot recommend, like Trevor Kirchner. This season had a heart of gold, but did not execute well, sort of like your accidental execution of a fraternity pledge. Well, at least you redeemed yourself in the end, even if this season didn't, like Ray Powell. How did you end up watching this? It was terrible. The situations were cliche and stale, and ended up in the most predictable places. All you wanted to do was be a smart, plain, simple person who isn't constantly being attacked by murderers. Like Brooke Thompson. You didn't watch this season. You were busy murdering people, or being framed for murdering people, or trying to become a murderer. You know, the usual. Like Richard Ramirez, Mr. Jingles, and Bruce. Who wants to go?
My name is Kylie.
Hi, Kylie.
And
Hi, Kylie.
Hi. And I know Sarah loves it when I do this. So I'm a Rita and a Roy.
You mean Ray? There's no Roy.
Ray. Sorry. It says it wrong on the Wikipedia thing. Anyway, whatever his face is. I'm between those two.
Did you want to say why?
I don't think I need to. It was
There's anarchy already!
Listen, Kylie, this is legally a member of your family, so I can't blame for this. Okay?
Way to introduce the dynamics.
Yes. So Kylie married Kylie's brother. They are sisters-in-law.
It's a family
Yeah.
affair.
I'll just say I was really excited for this, and then the first episode I was really excited, and then the second I was sort of excited, and then the third I stopped getting excited. So yeah, that's how it felt for me.
Well, thank you, Callie. We can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah.
I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm definitely a Nurse Rita.
What
all
is your
the way.
name?
What's your name?
Oh, I'm Eddie. Duh.
Hi,
Hello.
Eddie. Duh.
And I'm not choosing the nurse because I am one. It was a roller coaster. And, like, I liked parts of it a lot, or I really hated it. There was, like, no in between.
Okay, good.
That's it.
This is going to be a really short podcast.
Yeah.
Who wants to go next?
I'm Emily.
Hi,
and
Emily.
Hi, Emily.
I'm going to do Sarah's favorite thing too and pick two people. I am definitely an Xavier, and I think a Ray. I think it started out as a really great idea, and I think it started out pretty strong. It got kind of bad in the middle and very predictable, which was mentioned in a different one. But in Brooke, I think, was mentioned predictable. But it got really predictable. But, like, in general, it wasn't my least favorite season.
Cool. Thanks, Emily.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick two characters.
What's your name, though?
Okay, I'll get there.
Speak into the
I'm
microphone.
Nick.
Hi,
No
Nick.
relation.
Hi, Nick. No blood relation, just a legal relation.
Dynamics.
I love you. This is my husband.
Yeah. Now what do? I am two characters. One is not on your description. I picked Xavier because I thought the show had a strong-ish start. I at least liked the slasher elements of the first half of the season, but then I felt like it fell off a cliff, like the pledge that Ray killed.
Right. That's okay.
You're welcome.
And then I get to go second to last because Sarah's moderating this. And of course, my name is Kylie, and I said that. And if I was going, I'm only gonna pick one. So Sarah is momentarily happy. I'm gonna pick Ray. The season had a heart of gold, but it did not execute well. And I have lots of thoughts. As I was alive in 1984 and remember it, I've got thoughts on that. I've got thoughts on how derivative it is. It wants to be an homage. It ends up being a predictable derivative thing. And generally speaking, it's not my least favorite, but it certainly is in the bottom third.
I just realized that y'all are going to ask us to rate them again.
I know, I just thought about it.
I know, so did I.
Start thinking.
Well, I probably am gonna.
Thanks, Kylie.
Well, I'm Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
And hello. I also am Ray in this scenario. You know, what's weird is whenever I do the character questions, I always pick one. But this time I picked Ray because I agree. I think it had a heart of gold in the end, and I liked the end. The very last 30 seconds were great. But
Wow.
it didn't execute some stuff. So we will get into that. To the listener, these panelists have not gotten the talking points in advance. We all like to surprise for American Horror Story. I don't know why we decided to do that, but we find it fun now. For
The horror.
horror. Yeah, you never know. So let's start off by just saying some general impressions of this season. What did you think? You can be really specific. You can be really general. Keeping in mind that the next thing we're going to do is go episode by episode and discuss each one. So if you forget stuff or you're not sure where it goes, you'll have a chance to redeem yourself coming up.
I was really excited about the theme because I remember we kind of talked about this, I think in the last episode. We knew the theme and we kind of talked about where we thought it might be going. But there were a lot of different ways that this episode could have played out. Like I saw people talking about like Orwell's 1984, like the book. They talked about like all the different movies that came out in 1984 and how that could have like played into all of it. So I was definitely super excited for this episode or for this season. And I think it started out really strong and then it, like Nick's, fell off a cliff. So
I pretty much knew it was going to be an homage to the slasher flicks of the decade. I knew it was going to be a little Nightmare, a little Halloween, a little Friday the 13th, and came in expecting that. It largely lived up to my expectations. It was clearly the love letter to that time period. I got really hung up on the fact that a lot of what I was watching, there's a lot of TV right now that is homaging the 80s, and I think that a lot of the TV that's homaging the 80s that's not American Horror Story is doing it a lot better than American Horror Story did. Stranger Things is like a visceral, nostalgic experience. This was like almost a laughable parody of the decade, and I wanted it. I don't have any like strong love or hate of the 80s. I was a kid, so it's more of a, more of a heartwarming, that was a sweet time, rather than I love it. But for what it was trying to do, and even some of the characterizations, I thought it was interesting that they switched Emma and Billy Lord, so Emma got to play the nice girl and Billy Lord got to play the bitch. However, they both kind of did poorly at it, and it really took me out of it. So I had a really hard time liking their characters. I didn't know if I was supposed to like anybody. I mean, they're all flawed, but I don't know. It was just kind of terribly boring as well. The one character that I really did like in the end was Mr. Jingles.
He was the most consistent. That's the only reason why.
Yeah. I was going to comment too, Kylie. I thought it was really funny that, so you talk about how like a lot of things are like redoing the 80s. Even in that last episode when we see Mr. Jingle's son come back, spoiler alert, he mentioned that she's like, oh, what's happening in 2019? He's like, well, they're bringing the 80s back. And so I thought that was like kind of funny that they like threw that in there.
Meta.
Yep.
I agree. I think that the ideas were there and it just wasn't executed properly. They could have done so many different things. And like I said, about halfway through, it was like, what is that? What's happening right now? So yeah, the ideas were there. It was there. And then it just wasn't executed, I think.
The best way I can describe this is it's kind of like classic horror movies being remade. Like right now, like all the, like Halloween is one of my favorites, and they just keep remaking it, and it's never going to be as good as the original. And it was heartbreaking because I really had high hopes for this season because I thought it was going to go in a different angle. But like we've all said, it started off pretty well, and then it just kind of dipped. It's like they didn't know where to go.
Yeah, I thought it had the potential to be something, I don't know if lighter is the right word, but not as...
Hashtag potential, long story.
Yeah, well, they just came out of the apocalypse season where they had all these other seasons converging, and it was really deep for a lot of us, and we were making the connections. This could have just been a season to stand alone and entertain us, but then they tried to do so many things that were baffling to me, like Satan was there, but we didn't see. Was that real? Yeah. What happened? The grounds were like sort of like Murder House where you're stuck there, but was that related? But we didn't know. And the lore wasn't there and it wasn't consistent.
Yeah, too much.
Yeah.
Too much towards the end.
The other thing that was kind of frustrating that I wish they'd expanded upon more was they brought in Richard Ramirez, who's an actual serial killer. Being a big fan of true crime and all that jazz, I was really excited that they brought him in, and I was really hoping that they would maybe tie in some more like real life serial killers into that story. I think that would have like made it really interesting, but then they like didn't really do anything with him. Although the episode where they just keep killing him over and over and over again was pretty funny. I did think that was hilarious. And Sarah, I noticed the Murder House thing too, and I was kind of like, what? Why?
Yeah, it doesn't even fit. I noticed that too. Like how many haunted things that retain the people that die in their spaces. Like what's special about this camp? And they never actually even gave us a clue. Like I don't think it's ever completely spelled out in Murder House or for Roanoke or the hotel or anything like that, but at least they give us clues. This was just a stupid camp, and Leslie Grossman.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I guess I thought it might have been that first traumatic experience where the kid died and his mom went nuts and killed everyone. Like
with Lily Rabe?
Yeah. That started it, and as that compounded and built, it made it more receptive to I don't know. I'm making it all up and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt.
It seemed like they wanted to say, like, Satan was there because he helped Richard Ramirez and, like, some other stuff.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
They didn't elaborate. I don't know. And Richard Ramirez, I'm also a Murderino, Emily. I know.
Yes.
We both are fans of that podcast. And so
Mhm.
I was super stoked, at least for Richard Ramirez, that is actually how he was caught. A gang of people noticed him, chased him
exactly.
down, and beat him until the police came. I was like,
Yeah.
Nick, this is real. That's what happened. And he's like,
Yeah.
wait, he really was revived? I'm like, no, not all of it.
No.
Just this 5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I love how that was my least favorite part, that they brought in a real serial killer.
Yes, I agree. But I do agree with that.
But he was really easy on the eyes, so I'm okay with that.
Oh, okay.
In real life, Richard Ramirez was not pretty. He had some jacked up teeth.
Oh, no.
Emily.
Yeah, I don't know. I agree, Nick, that I think... I don't know that I agree that I understood the abuse from the Lily Rabe character to be the abuse / her anger and hurt over the second son, the younger son, dying, being the start of this energy, if you will, because the Satan thing was there, because the devil was back. Somehow, I thought that was more the connection they were trying to make. But then again, did they ever explain Roanoke? Did they ever explain the hotel that way? Like, I don't think that they did. So
Not really.
For some reason, I was thinking Murder House was because of that first doctor and how he was killing people in the basement. He was torturing those souls, so they never got the rest. But I might be making that up too.
I think the Murder House. I think the Murder
This
House
season wasn't as clear as the other seasons. Like the hotel, something about the lore that they had going seemed clearer than this. This was like, well, you have to be. I don't know.
I think what bothered it was that it was like their big like plot twist of the season, like the first like big plot twist was like, oh, they're all stuck here, and I think that kind of bothered me because they didn't set it up in a way that really made sense. Like you didn't see any of these other like ghosts prior to this plot twist, whereas in Murder House you are introduced to all of these other people throughout the whole time, and then you find out, oh shit, they're stuck here. I just swore, sorry, but
Well, they found a hippie hitchhiker before we discovered that, but we didn't know he was a ghost.
Yeah.
But he's like, and that one, like, they didn't even really. It was like
That seemed more
small
confusing.
thing. Yeah, I think that's kind of part of what bothered me was that they like set that whole thing up as like, guys, this is the huge plot twist you've been waiting for. Like, they're not dead. Like, they can't leave. They're dead. But it was like, oh, we've seen this before. This isn't anything new.
I think one of the reasons is a letdown too for me. It ending with the ghosts and being stuck at the camp was not only did we see that, but that is the crux of a season. And I think I was excited for, oh, this is a slasher movie. This is Friday the 13th. This is bringing prom night, all those things. Like that was what it was going to be. And then it turned into a murder house camp. I might have enjoyed more if I wasn't expecting slasher. If all the commercials and pictures weren't basically a Friday the 13th movie cover. So it was the expectations as well.
Yeah.
I think, like, to piggyback on what Nick said, I wanted more of Mr. Jingles. Like, a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I love him.
He was he was my favorite, and the fact that he had like a tender heart and like we actually got to see the good side of him. That was like my favorite part of the season, is that some killers are actually like normal people, put it in quotes. Like I love how they developed that story.
He's a wonderful actor too.
But that was a pretty big twist that he didn't do the killings.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it would have been interesting if they had like the twist that I was kind of expecting was that they were going to be like, oh, we've been filming this movie and this is like, we're filming this slasher film. And then we find out that like these people actually died. Like that's like I was just reading about Poltergeist, about like how some people like actually died during the filmings and like shortly after all three Poltergeist movies. I think that would have been like a much stronger plot twist than this.
That would have been a
Yeah.
cool story. It was kind of, I mean, I think it stayed slashery, but I think it was very distracting that they did the Murder House Roanoke hotel twist again. I think that's that was kind of its fatal flaw, actually. I actually like Emily's proposal for a season much better than the one that we got, because that would have been interesting. Like,
Right?
This is not only an homage, it's a meta on meta thing. That would have been totally different.
Anybody that works for the show, tweeted us at CPU Podcast on Twitter, and we will get you in touch with Emily. She is available to write for next season.
I have no theater gigs, so
Great. And she does costumes, so there you go. You double book
exactly.
Let's get into some of these episodes, because I think we'll get some more things coming out as we talk about them. So episode 1 is called Camp Redwood. We meet our characters. We meet them before camp, and then they travel to camp to be summer staff. And so take me through what you were thinking during, Brooks' attack by Richard Ramirez, and we learned all the history behind Camp Redwood. We opened up with that very Friday the 13th sequence with the counselors engaging in a little menage a trois and getting murdered. So, thoughts?
I liked it.
Great.
It made me excited. It made me excited for the future. I was like, sweet, we're in it. Let's go. Let's do it.
I was completely distracted by Billy Lourd's wig. It's bad.
I love her, though. I'm still a big Billy Lourd fan.
She's
I did
great.
like her in this.
The wig was terrible. I was like, this is too obviously a wig.
I was equally distracted by Cody Fern's wig, or if that was his hair, sorry, Cody.
The wigs were bad. Do you think they did that? They were trying to do that on purpose to make it seem like bad 80s?
Like it was Aquanet hair?
Yeah, or they were just bad.
I think they were just bad.
I don't know. I think they were kind of doing it on purpose, because I feel like in the past they've had some really great wigs on that show. So I think it was on purpose.
I just want to say that none of the hairstyles were good. And some of them were a little ahead of the time. Like, that was not 1984 hair. It could have been 1987 hair. Okay? And, yeah, I didn't like it. It was too hard to suspend disbelief, because if they were going for something bad, haha, parody, then I was like, is this supposed to be funny? And I'm not laughing. And if it wasn't, then it was just bad. So, sorry. I have feelings. I have the feelings.
It felt like they weren't homaging the 80s sometimes, at least with the characters and costumes and stuff. They were homaging, like, movies made about the 80s that exaggerated what the 80s were. And that's what they were, like, tongue-in-cheek doing. But they didn't, I don't know. They walked that line in an interesting way, because it was 80s horror movies, which are cheesy and can be over the top, but it was hard to balance it, because this is a horror movie that's modern, how they were in when it's made. I don't know. Yeah,
it was very caricature-esque of the 80s. I was going to say, I enjoyed the way they set the season up in episode 1, because that is where we first are introduced to the Night Stalker. And that's kind of where my Murderino heart was going. And I was really hoping that they were going to kind of run with some more of that theme as well. Like maybe to tie some more real life serial killers into these 80s slasher films. And then I was just kind of disappointed the rest of the season. So
yes, thank you. That's exactly, yes.
I was very upset by the Brooks attack. I thought it was so scary.
Yeah.
In classic Sarah style, I turned to Nick and I was like, I'm not watching any more of this. Why do I watch this? It's so scary for me. And he's like, you need to calm down. How we watch everything. But I thought it was really realistic and scary.
That was probably the most intense murder of the murders that we saw, because it wasn't traditional slasher. It was more traditional, real horror murder kind of thing. And I don't know anything about, I'm not a murderino. I don't know anything about too many serial killers. So I was like, who the hell is this guy? And
he's a monster.
Apparently.
Yeah. He's crazy.
I was just going to say the other thing about the characters and setting it up. I found it believable enough that they would all last minute be counselors at the camp. I feel like they all had, whether we knew in the first episode or not, it seemed like, oh, this is why they're out in the camp last minute in the middle of nowhere. I think Ray's the only one we really find why, later episode, why he's running away. But I felt like,
Xavier.
yeah, but even like the overarching, there's a serial killer around, we should get away from him. That was also enough.
Yeah.
That takes us to episode 2. Mr. Jingles. It is called Mr. Jingles. We learn about Brooke's backstory of her wedding. That was crazy. And Xavier's backstory, gay porn. And we see some murders and 2 murderers converge on the camp. Discuss.
The wedding gave me Kill Bill feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
seriously
I never
vibed
saw
to
that.
Oh, I like it. Not everybody does, but I like both the Kill Bills quite a lot. And yes, I
Me
also
too.
had that same
Me too.
impression.
I liked the wedding scene. I thought it was executed very properly, and it made sense why she pretty much just went batshit crazy. I just swore on here too. Sorry.
I mean, we can push it a couple more times, but then I gotta
Just bleep them out. I agree with that. The wedding scene I like the setup. It made sense.
I thought the introduction to the whole gay porn thing, I thought it was too cliche. Like, I knew he was about to have, it's going to be the classic gay, like, he's doing it for money, but he doesn't know who he is. I, rolled my eyes at that so many times. It's like, he was my least favorite character out of the whole season.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And I love him.
And
I'm so mad.
And I normally love the gay characters because I'm like, okay, I have to support as a gay man, but no. I like the sugar daddy that he had better than him.
Oh, wow.
No, I totally agree. I kept thinking to myself, man, he was so much better as the Antichrist.
I agree.
He was.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
His face is too beautiful and intense for what the hair they gave him and the character they gave him. I was like, but is he an undercover, I don't know. I couldn't. He
works for Miami Vice or something.
Something, yeah.
I think they were going for that, or Wham. I had a very definite
Oh,
Wham.
Yeah.
I wanted him to wake us up before
He go-goed.
went.
Go.
Is that the episode we meet, I don't know, for lack of a better term, was pimping him out?
Yes.
Does he die in that episode too?
Yeah.
He does.
quick.
We meet him and he dies. His name was Blake, and we meet him and he is one of the first kills in modern daytime.
Right.
I think.
Was that a spike through the showers? Eyeballs.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but iconic.
Yeah.
One of the problems I had with this episode was the 2 murderers converging at the same time. I just was upset by that so deeply. And again, I was like, Nick, why would there be 2? And he's like, you need to calm down, first of all. But I was like, why? This isn't realistic. But then I get caught up in of course it's not realistic, dum-dum, it's not. But I don't know. I felt there could have been better execution, I guess, of that. For me.
I'm gonna agree with you, Sarah. I wish they would have picked one and ran with it instead of having 2 of them and just giving us little experts of what they were and making them short. I felt like they could have really played off the iconic look through a peephole murder and made that bigger than it actually was instead of just having 2 different murderers.
Well, it adds too much. And if you add too much, then you get confused. It gets confusing.
Have you watched American Horror Story?
Yep.
They always add too much.
It's called
even more
season 2.
confusing.
Right.
And then
Why are there aliens?
There's
Where
aliens.
did they come from?
Nobody knows.
Exactly.
it
So
wouldn't
they have a problem with that, adding too much at one time.
that's what I was gonna
Mhm.
say. It doesn't even stop it too. Mr. Jingles and the Night Stalker. Okay. I was kind of in it for a minute if they were gonna go buddy cop off and be partners in crime, but they didn't even take it that direction. They sped over that.
They did a Freddy versus Jason. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I would have been down for if that's been the season built. But instead of these 2 serial killers, one of them finds a third one, and then they're also going after Margaret, who's really the serial killer. That's
Too much.
And
Plus
then
Satan.
Lavinia's there, and she was the OG serial killer. They're just all there.
Plus
Yeah.
Satan. Don't forget, Satan is a palpable presence at this camp.
Yes.
Forgot about him.
was Satan at the camp or just following around Ramirez?
Who knows? Or he's everywhere. Who knows?
We don't know.
We don't
Nobody knows.
I
That
mean-
question was not answered.
To be fair, what we saw was, yes, Ramirez was the one who invoked him, but then
Yeah.
things actually happened when he did that, implying that Satan was real.
Well, we already know that because eventually the Antichrist comes.
Yeah.
Right, but that was back in the apocalypse, and we're in the 84, okay?
Oh, this happened
The
first.
apocalypse is in the
Building
future.
towards that.
All right.
Yep. Yep.
Well,
Judge.
speaking
I
of
judged that.
building two, episode 3, Flashdance. Ray leaves Chet to die in a pit. We haven't even talked about Chet, and I left him out of the character description because I was so bored by him, I didn't know what was going on.
He was
I feel so
nothing.
bad
He
for
was
him.
nothing.
There's too many of them, and
Too
yeah,
many.
we knew you did drugs, Chet. We could tell. Okay, that was like,
Yeah.
It was a joke
He's
within that.
I know.
Yeah, he's the
But-
archetypal jock who pretty much always gets killed.
Admitted it, I think it was Xavier's. We know.
I did sympathize with Chet a little bit more just as actor Gus Kenworthy because he was a former Olympian turned actor.
Yeah.
So I will cut him a little slack.
I thought the actor was
but-
great. It was just too many boring white guys
Players?
Yeah.
around. I didn't need that
Yeah.
many. That could have been streamlined into just the one, Xavier, or
Yeah.
even whatever. But so Ray and Chet fall into a pit, and then Ray leaves Chet to die. We learn the backstory about Ray, so that Nick referenced how he accidentally killed his frat brother.
I love that backstory, by the way.
Mhm.
Love.
And
Yeah.
then there's various pranksters running about because it's murder night or something. I don't know. And
It's
they
the
all die.
anniversary, right?
Yes, yeah. And
Okay.
they all die. And then Ray is decapitated.
They all die.
and Montana
Yeah.
is sleeping with Richard Ramirez. So all of that happens in season 3. It's a
Yeah.
very meaty
Episode three.
season. Or
Yeah.
episode, sorry. All of that happens in episode 3. It's very plot heavy.
I didn't. Montana's reasoning or backstory for wanting to kill what's her face
Brooke.
was hard for
Mhm.
was hard for
It
me
was
to
it's a little far fetched.
Yeah.
I don't know. Her about to be husband killed her brother, and that's her fault. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
a
almost
little
like she was
far-fetched.
crazy.
It never tied in with anything. It was just kind of like thrown out there and then they forgot about it. Like they never talked about it again.
Like, she wants to kill you because of this random reason, and that's why she's after you.
It's one of those storylines where you can tell they're writing as they shoot the show,
Yeah.
and they're just, well, we'll see what sticks, and we'll bring other things back up if we get to it.
Mr. Shoe hasn't come yet, has he?
No.
Okay.
No.
Who's Mr.
Well, it
Shoe?
says-
Matthew
It says
Morrison.
here that I'm reading the Wikipedia episode
That's what
description.
I'm on.
Because I don't remember all the episodes. It says Ray abandons Montana on Trevor's motorcycle, and Matthew Morrison
Here.
was playing Trevor.
Oh, yeah. Trevor
Trevor's
is
here.
here.
Yeah. I just didn't
Trevor.
bring him up yet because he does not have we learned very little of his backstory, and he hasn't really done much yet. Except have a
Yeah, we don't really care about him until later.
Right. So I
I don't really care
didn't
about
know.
him ever, but that was going to be my comment.
I think he was supposed to be the hero with the heart of gold because he was always like, I'm not leaving people, I'm not doing this. Like he was supposed to be a really good person. And maybe he was. I don't know. Like I said, too many white guys
Yeah.
running around these woods. I can't keep up with them.
Well, yeah, but with him, all I could think is, why is Mr. Shoe in this one? Why is Mr. Shoe in this one? I can't. Are they going to break into song?
Yeah.
What's going on?
It's
I
weird.
really was waiting because it was called Flashdance
Yes.
for them to like bring in another dance number or something.
It
Yeah.
would have been very 80s for them to do that.
Instead, you just get Matthew Morrison with a trash stash and some little shorts. And that's what you get.
And another bad
Yep.
wig. Trash stash. I'm remembering that.
I like that trash stash. It's a good one.
You're welcome.
What did you guys think of the Rita character played by Angelica Ross?
Yes.
Oh boy.
I loved her. Oh, I loved everything about her. I think she was my favorite part of the whole season. I knew the reason I loved her is because when we first met her character, I knew there was more than her just being a nurse on this camp. Like there was something more. And then I love how when we found out that she was actually like doing research and she was a researcher, and just her whole story makes sense, and that she actually like got Mr. Jingles to pretty much like open up to her. I thought that was pretty cool. I think she was the most complex and well-written character out of this whole season.
I liked her too, mainly because I don't think she had an archetype that they were drawing on. That's something completely different. Her dad was played by Tuvok. That was interesting. And I enjoyed Angelica Ross a lot. I think she was one of my favorite characters as well, just because her character actually evolved over the course of this. And became, I mean, she made the comment more than once that, you know, she's black, she'll never be the final girl, but the fact that, spoiler, she ends up being the final girl also broke the mold, and I do think I like her probably the best of everybody.
I think she's a terrific actress, and that always helps. You know, that helps. So I like her a whole lot.
Yeah, I think her and Mr. Jingles have the biggest story arc.
Yeah.
And are the best characters.
And the best story arcs.
Yeah, I still like Mr. Jingles the best. She's number 2.
Yeah.
She's number 2. Yeah.
All right.
I have nothing else to say about Slash Dance, though, because it was very packed. There were some episodes that felt very thin, and then there was episodes like this one where they just, like, plot dumped for 60 minutes. And I didn't know if I was supposed to care by the end.
Hard to keep track of. And a lot of exposition, and just it's a transitional episode. If you missed it, you would not know what was going on, but it wasn't that interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
I did have a lot of second screen experience during this season, which I don't often engage in that. But I did keep picking up my phone during this season, or stopping it a lot and taking breaks, which is never a good sign in Kylie's TV world. If I'm getting
it is not.
No, I'm not focused on this. And that was throughout the whole season, even in the first episode for me. I know others like the first episode, but
yeah, this season was interesting. This was also, I watched I watched 3 or 4. I think it was 3 episodes of this season at the apartment on Wednesday nights. That was one of the fun social things I was doing before Corona. And it was interesting because even in that setting, I feel like typically I would have been really engaged in it still, but I felt like I wasn't engaged. I mean, obviously I was at a bar, but I think just in general, this season was really hard to engage in.
Well, luckily it's only 9 episodes. That leads us to episode number 4, True Killers. Xavier manages to survive being roasted in an oven, but he's forced to kill Birdie, the cook. She asks him to because she's suffering. And then we learn that Margaret is the actual killer. We haven't talked a ton about Margaret, so we will. And then Ramirez and Jingles have their Freddy versus Jason moment and fight while Brooke swings above them in a net. And then chaos ensues. So, thoughts?
I would like to say that Leslie Grossman has her moments and her characters where it works, and for me, her as Margaret did not work. And I feel like they may have had in mind somebody like Sarah Paulson and then just kind of gave it to her. Do you know what I mean? Like they had somebody else in mind.
I totally agree with you on that, like 100%.
Yeah.
She drove me nuts.
I think you needed just someone to play the character not like Leslie Grossman until the turn of finding out she's the murderer. And then I think it worked more with her. But leading up to it, it was like, well, we already hate her. We're supposed to hate her. And we know you could tell there was more to it. I don't know. I agree with you.
It was hard to hate her, then hate her even more. Because we already hated her.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if they were gonna do that twist that she was a murderer, we should have fell in love with her. Like I didn't even feel bad for her that all her friends died and then she went back to the camp and opened it up. All I could think of is, you stupid. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of a Sarah Paulson for that part, but I just thinking about it for even a minute, having it played like that for the first couple of episodes, and then seeing her in her full.
Even Kathy Bates would have done better. Like,
Oh, I would have killed for Kathy Bates. I love her.
There are some.
Why didn't Lily Reed play that part? That would've been great.
Yeah.
There are some character switches that they could have done to even make the weird writing better. Just by switching around some characters.
And to say that, I wish Emma Roberts would have played the back where she was in the camp before, would have played Margaret. I think she would have done it way better.
Well, I agree that just about... So I'll preface my remarks by saying when we've talked about Leslie in the past, and I think she started on the cult season, I've never really liked her. I mean, I'm sure she's a fine person in real life and maybe has done some other cool things, but I have not enjoyed her in Cult. I have not enjoyed her in Apocalypse. I don't really enjoy her here, but I think they set her up where she plays the type of character that you are not supposed to like. She plays, and she tends to play it the same way. But with the different, whatever the different spin on the character is. Now, in this season, she just happens to be the ultimate villain, but she's not a good enough actress to handle being the ultimate villain. So even when you do find out that she's behind most of the murdering, you're like, oh, well, okay, so I don't care about that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I don't think that, I actually think they wrote 1984 and did it this way because the standbys needed a break. And they had this crop of actors and actresses that have sprung up that are very good and have done very well in the previous 2 seasons, whether the seasons have done well or not. So they created 1984 with the people they were going to have. I don't think they had Sarah in mind for Margaret. I think they had Leslie in mind for Margaret. I just don't think
that's weird.
Yeah, I just don't think she's equal to the task for really being kind of the linchpin on the season.
Yeah.
Nothing likable there. And Eddie's right. You can't hate her even more if you don't like her to begin with.
Right.
You're just bored.
Right, exactly.
I didn't mind her in Apocalypse. I think I liked her better in Apocalypse. I hated her in Cult, but I know we were also really supposed to hate her in Cult. But yeah, kind of going off what everybody else is saying.
To Billy Eichner.
No. Was that season called Cult or Election?
Cult.
No,
Cult.
Oh, Cult.
That is the
I like her in that
election
one.
She
right?
was married to Billy Eichner. Billy Eichner's gay. She was his beard.
I remember that. I was thinking of a different season that happened in.
No, that was first season. And then she was one of the acolyte people in Apocalypse in that future world.
But I think her acting style worked in Apocalypse. That's why I think I didn't mind her.
I still don't like her. She was one
Really? Do you like her in The Good Place?
Yeah, I don't mind her as Eleanor Shellstrap's mom. That's fine. It's not her.
I'm just curious if you didn't like her in that one.
Yeah, no, it's not her that I don't like. It's the type that she's playing in all of the seasons on American Horror Story. And the fact that it doesn't really change. I mean, that's basically the same character. It's just this time she has evil motives as opposed to she's just a bad human with bad choices motives.
It's like some of the Jessica Lange characters, but without the acting depth to pull off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Any other thoughts about that episode? Oven roasting?
I would say that him, this is more the next episode, but like I get it. He's all about his looks, and his looks are ruined. But then they kind of pulled the carpet out from under that by killing him in the next episode.
So it doesn't matter. Exactly.
Yeah, it really didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
The oven roasting was hard to watch. And I reminded myself, this is why I don't watch horror. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Episode 5 is called Red Dawn. And this is all about who will be the final girl. We get Donna's backstory. Donna is Rita, but really named Donna Chambers. We see her serial killer father, played by Tim Russ, who we love from Star Trek. He does a couple different ones, but mainly Star Trek Voyager. See some of you looking confused, but Kylie and Nick are nodding along, so they've got it. And we get Margaret killing Chet in a boat. Satan revives people. Brooke sleeps with a ghost. The culmination of the epic girl fight has Brooke stabbing Montana as a bus full of kids arrive.
I feel like they thought the moment that turn of Margaret killing Chet was this big moment, but it was like we all knew that she was gonna kill him, right? Like,
Yeah.
So that was dumb to me.
That is also the episode though where Brooke and Ray like make out, and then she like later finds his severed head, and that he was like dead the whole
They had
time.
sex.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
sex.
oh yeah, that's right.
Sex. Full on.
That's right.
They made a little Antichrist
Yeah.
potentially.
But they didn't, though.
No, we see later. We see 30 years later. So they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was where that like plot twist is kind of revealed, where like he's dead. Which I didn't hate the way that they revealed that. I just still hate that plot twist because, like we've already said, we've seen it before.
Well, we knew he was dead. It was that Brooke, because we saw
Didn't know.
Oh yeah,
we saw his head get cut off in the last episode.
that's
Yeah.
right.
It
And
was just-
I think, yeah, it was kind of confusing at first, and then when they reveal it, I'm like, oh, now I get it.
I also feel like, however, in self-defense, Brooke was in her character, the way killing Montana that she did, I felt was totally out of character. Which is not the first time I've seen this kind of thing in American Horror Story, where people kill other people totally out of character. Like, she stabbed her 150 times. Like, she just kept stabbing her in front of a bus full of kids.
It seemed like they just needed it to happen that way so that they can get her sent to prison. And
Right, so they could
and
arrest her, which they maybe wouldn't have done because it was clearly she was doing it out of self-defense.
But I think
So
they
that-
thought she killed everyone else too because of that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Because Jingles and Ramirez had left the camp.
and everybody was dead. So they blame it all
Yeah.
on her.
Yep.
Was there a movie called Red Dawn?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
7, and it's got Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey, free Dirty Dancing, and C. Thomas Howell and Emilio Estevez. And then they remade it a couple years ago with like Adrian Padalecki and some other folks.
Chris Hemsworth, Josh Hutcherson.
I should have just tagged you right in, Emily. You're young and you know those people, whereas I know all the 80s people. So you got it up.
I've just already got IMDb pulled up.
It's about the Russians invading America, and they originally were going to set it in Michigan, apparently. So the group was called the Wolverines after their high school mascot. But then they ended up moving it to Denver. I've never seen it, but I fell down a rabbit hole when I saw this episode. I was like, okay, what's that movie about?
Yeah, that doesn't seem related at all.
No,
No.
it's not.
It's related through the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they needed.
Yeah, if the show hadn't lost me by this point, it definitely lost me on this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I was starting, I think they carried me along a little bit longer. One is I really enjoyed Tim Russ, so that made those moments enjoyable.
It took me a minute to realize it was him, though. I was like, oh, he's really familiar. And then, yeah. Well, I mean, he's older, and he was like a serial killer. You don't want to think of a Vulcan as a serial killer. That's very hard.
Going through the pond top.
That was nerdy.
He's also in an episode of Supergirl, Kylie, so...
But was easier to recognize and wasn't quite so evil there.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, so I don't think I completely went off the cliff until the extreme disappointment of the next episode. When we're ready.
Episode 6. Episode 6 is actually called Episode 100.
Mistake.
Massively disappointing.
They're leading this up to be huge. Does it live up to its name? Margaret is rich and lives with Trevor. She's actually married to Trevor.
Yeah.
Brooke is on death row. Jingles has a son and a wife who gets murdered by Richard Ramirez. Brooke is saved by Donna from lethal injection. I did a deep dive again because I have issues. My screen time has been way up, my phone told me. I'm like, thanks, phone, I know. But I wanted to see if they even were using lethal injection in California in 1989. They weren't actually executing at that time, but it was an option to use lethal injection.
Good fact checking, Sarah.
I do. Well, I do what I can. So, what were your thoughts on this? Did it live up to this label, episode 100?
They should not have named it episode 100. I get in an anthology show, it might be hard to do full 100th episode, but they just shouldn't have called it that and just left it been an episode in the season. I think we even talked about it in the last episode. The one where we go back to Murder House was probably more suited to be an episode 100 type thing, bringing Jessica Lange back, going back to the root, the origin. That. And I didn't think they could surpass that. And I didn't think they needed to try, but they really had me excited seeing that they called it that it was going to be something big, something that tied the whole show together. Just didn't celebrate the series at all.
Yeah.
It was massively disappointing, and by this time it was very, very messy. This whole season was very messy at this point, and
Yep.
yeah.
I feel like they really could have used this episode to not only to have it be a celebration of their other 100 episodes, because that's a pretty big feat to make in an anthology series like this. But they could have also really used it well to kind of tie the rest of the season together and to propel it forward for the last few episodes. But I don't think they did that well. I think that's what they kind of were trying to do, by jumping ahead and doing a time jump, but it just felt totally flat.
I thought the whole Matthew Morrison and Leslie Grossman thing was strange.
Mm-hmm.
And a weird dynamic.
How could you ever be married to somebody or have sex with them if they had tried to murder you brutally in this?
Exactly.
I don't understand. All the money and cocaine in the world ain't gonna get me through that. I'm sorry.
Blackmail wouldn't work in that instance.
No.
I mean, maybe for some people, but come on. No.
Yeah, I didn't buy his motivation either. That was done.
Yep.
Yeah, for the character with the heart of gold, it was kind of corrupt at that point.
Yeah. I did think it was interesting that Donna saved Brooke. But again, that Brooke's whole character arc was a really weird one too. She goes from totally murdering Montana, and you think she's gonna kind of really be the bad guy, and then she's not, and that was just such a mess too. I hated all of it.
I only think she saved her for her own good, for her own needs. Though. Mm-hmm. I don't think she saved her because she thought she was a good person. She saved her because she needed to use her to go back, and she knew it would attract people that she was back. Mm-hmm. That's why I loved Donna this whole season, is because she didn't do anything unless there was a motive with it. She always had a goal, and she was sticking to it.
Yeah, she had trauma just like everybody else. We got to see that trauma, and this was the person it formed, just more of a researching, questioning person, and never stopped trying to find the truth behind everything that was happening. And I like that as a good through line, kind of. Yeah, I think she's my favorite character too. She's the only redeeming one for me.
Do you know what she said, Sarah? Do you know what she said, Sarah?
No.
She said, "Not today, Satan." That's what she said. Yeah. That's a Sarah line. Everybody.
Did I say that?
You did. Wow. You said it in reference to Cody Fern at one point during Apocalypse. And it was very, very funny.
Yeah.
So ahead of my time, guys. Well, I guess if you need actresses, you are also welcome to tweet at CPU Podcast. Get in touch. We got a couple on here. Well, I can do lines. I can do lines. Yeah.
Not today, Satan.
Not today, Satan.
Love it.
Well, do we want to roll on into episode 7? Are we done being disappointed by this last one?
I'm spent.
Episode 7 is called The Lady in White, in which we learn about Lavinia, who is the worst mother ever. Well, she's a contender. She's devastated over the death of her son, Bobby, because his older brother, Mr. Jingles, who I can't think of his real name. Anyone? Benjamin Richter, thank you. He wasn't watching him, and so Bobby got run over by a boat propeller.
So then we learn that Donna and Brooke are almost killed by a character named Bruce several times because apparently Brooke is the most unlucky person on the planet. Discuss.
I like Dylan McDermott popping. Is that McDermott?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I get him and Dermot Mulroney mixed up in my head. I like that he made an appearance in this season because I really enjoyed him in Murder House. Is that the only one he's been in?
He's also in Asylum.
Bloody Face Jr.
Yeah.
He's Bloody Face Jr., right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then he crops up in Apocalypse for a little bit as the Murder House guy again.
Yep. I really enjoyed him.
Well, he's in Murder House.
Oh, in Murder House stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't remember.
I could have used Dylan McDermott and Lily Rabe more in the whole thing, personally.
Yeah.
Because I really love her, too.
Yes.
And I thought she was awesome as being this crazy mother. Her acting was spectacular in the very short time she was in the show.
Yeah,
just so disappointing.
My main Lily Rabe comment in this whole show is every season she's in, she's not in that season enough.
Exactly.
I agree.
Give her a chance.
Maybe she doesn't want one. Do you think she just likes popping in and doing smaller stints? Like maybe she's doing other things.
Maybe she's busy and she just can't.
Let's look.
That's possible.
I guess I assume she does theater because her mom was a theater actress. So maybe I just want her to be Joe Clayburgh, but she's not. I don't know.
I was very excited to see Lily. It gave me hope that the season could be redeemed, but as Nick said, she was not in it enough for that to actually happen. But this episode was probably one of the better episodes of the 9, just because she was in it.
For a brief moment, wasn't too much of an homage to Friday the 13th. They beat us over the head with that in a later episode.
Interesting fact that I found earlier today when I was doing a little bit of research was that people noticed that the house in that episode, where the Richters lived, is the same house or very, very, very similar to the house that Evan Peters and his wife lived in. I believe it was was it Freak Show?
At the end?
Freak Show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Him and when he was married to the black woman.
Yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about.
Well, that happens at the end of Freak Show and at the end of Asylum.
I thought he married those Siamese twins.
Oh,
maybe
it was Asylum.
Maybe it was. Oh, you might be right. I think maybe it was Asylum.
I
not
think
Freak
it's
Show.
Asylum.
Yeah. The houses are like the same house or very, very, very similar. So who knows what that means? But that was like really the only Easter egg that people really noticed, aside from like the whole plot being Murder House. But
Right. I didn't notice that.
I didn't either until I read this, but I thought that was interesting.
I also don't remember particulars in Asylum well. I just remember aliens and James Cromwell and stuff like that. So I'm sorry, the aliens are the thing.
They're barely in it.
Confusing that you just can't forget.
Right, because they shouldn't have been in it at all.
It was the worst plot twist.
If you want aliens, you watch the X-Files. Continue.
Asylum has my favorite quote, though. I will say that.
What's that?
What is it?
Sit down, you're making me nervous. I love it. That's my favorite. I love it. I say it to people at work all the time.
Well, I say not today, Satan, to people at work all the time.
There you go.
I'm just kidding. I would get fired.
Aren't those people at work children?
Yes.
The children? You say it to the children?
I don't say it. They're teenagers, and I don't say that.
In front of
Rest
them.
in peace.
Speaking of episode 8, Rest in Pieces, here's what happens next. Margaret decides to get all the killers to join together to kill all the bands that are coming to this music festival, but not David Bowie. No,
Billy Idol.
Billy Idol. David Bowie does not feature in this season.
No, but so not Billy Idol, luckily. There's a journalist, Stacy, who's unlucky and pretty stupid, in my opinion. I had no sympathy for that lady. Lavinia and Jingles get reunited, and Trevor and Montana sort of get together.
They killed Kajagoogoo, right?
Yeah.
Killed Kajagoogoo, yeah.
We haven't talked about her assistant. What was his name in this season?
I don't know. His real name's Leslie Jordan.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I love him. He was in Apocalypse? He was in Apocalypse too. I enjoy him. I think he's hilarious.
Hold on, let me look, because I feel like she called him Leslie.
I feel like she did.
His name?
It might have been.
No, that wasn't his name.
No, but he was in Roanoke and Coven.
Yeah, yep. Roanoke is the first. Yeah, because I didn't really. Coven was not my favorite, but
Courtney. His name was Courtney.
Courtney. That's right.
Close to Leslie.
Yeah, it's
an ambiguous
predominantly
name.
female name.
That females have taken over.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, they killed Kajagoogoo, which I think was really kind of funny. I thought that was, but it was like a weird thing. Like, why?
Fun fact: the lead singer of Kajagoogoo is Lamal, who went on to solo record the Never-Ending Story, which then links back to Stranger Things.
Stranger Things, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, killing Kajagoogoo was fun, and the fact that they weren't permanently dead but ghosts was fun. That does explain their one-hit wonderness, I guess.
I thought it was kind of weird that Richard Ramirez was like obsessed with Billy Idol, because I don't think that's like a real thing, but I thought it was just kind of like, oh, okay. Of all the people for him to be obsessed with, it was Billy Idol.
No, I think it was tongue in cheek, because I think back in the day they thought Billy Idol was a Satan worshiper.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh,
that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Why didn't they let us know that? We didn't know.
That would make sense.
Need to know, Sarah.
They were trying to appeal to the old people.
I was not alive in 1984.
I was, but I was 4.
I was only slightly older, but yeah.
This was the episode, though, that, like, really kind of cracked me up when they kept re-killing Richard Ramirez to make sure that Satan didn't, like...
It's not this episode, it's the next one.
Are you sure
the
it's
next
not?
one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
the
right.
one.
They talk about it when they're recounting everything to his son. That's right.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Emily, I'm having problems with this episode too, and I have a feeling I was screen distracted during this whole thing.
Yeah,
I think I was picking up my phone the whole time.
Yeah.
And not paying any attention to this episode because I don't remember it at all.
I remember it for sure, but not well.
No, I got nothing, man.
Well, so we meet Stacy. She recognizes Brooke and maybe Donna, but definitely Brooke. And she follows them to their hotel. And she basically says, I know who you are. And they agree to give her an exclusive if she takes them to the camp. They just want to ride to the camp. And then when they get there, Brooke's going to kill her. But Donna's like, oh, no, that's not we're not doing that. So she runs away. But she runs into the band of serial killers that just happens to be roaming the woods. And they kill her. So
the car was stuck on the highway. Did that happen? A car on the highway, and then they ran away from there, and one of them stayed behind. Okay, I'm sort of there.
Yeah, I thought it was really weird that Brooke was going to kill Stacy because her killing Montana was supposed to be so out of character that her then trying to kill this reporter, this author, I thought that was just such a weird thing.
Yeah. I think it's weird that anybody would want to go back to a place of such trauma. I don't know. But
that too.
I'm a wimp. I don't want to go there.
No. Why would you go back?
Right.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the one redeeming feature of this episode was the Jingles Lavinia reconciliation. Because if I was invested in any story, it was the Jingles story.
Agreed. I mean, I think this one spent plenty of time with Margaret, and that kind of hurt it.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
So that takes us to the final episode. Here's what we got. Recap. It's called Final Girl. Brooke helps Trevor die on the property so he can be with Montana because he's shot and he's just over the property line. So Brooke helps. The counselors and the ghosts kill Ramirez repeatedly for 30 years, so that's a bummer for him. He deserves it, though. Margaret is killed in the wood chipper so that she can't be on the property. Parentheses, twist. Brooke dies. Twist. And Jingle's son Bobby revisits. We learn that Brooke actually escaped with help from Ray and has been sending Bobby money. Donna and Brooke reunite, and Bobby escapes with help from Grandma, Dad, and Uncle. The end.
Well, Bobby as Finn Whitrock come back.
I love
which is fun.
him.
Dandy.
I love him too. Yep.
That was fun, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And
That wood chipper thing was gnarly.
well,
It was gnarly, but
it's Fargo. That was a Fargo thing. I was like, why are they referencing Fargo now?
it
Don't
also
know.
was undercut by later in that episode. They did all that for she in a way where she couldn't be a ghost, but nah, it was a ghost anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't quite die in time, so I'm still here.
That was annoying.
Mhm.
Like, why did you not just like kill her normally then and like not throw her through a wood chipper? Yeah, I hated that. Now I'm going to talk about how I did laugh really hard at them repeatedly killing Richard Ramirez, because I thought that was really funny that every time he woke up they were just instantly on him.
And that they were all trying to figure out different ways to kill him. Like that is funny. That's funny.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, I liked the ending. I thought I was happy with how it ended, but I kind of hated everything between, like, I hated episodes 2 through 8.
Wow.
I thought the very, very end, Sarah, I love your face, but I thought it was super cheesy. Was it supposed to be cheesy?
I mean, the whole thing's been cheesy. I mean,
But like that was really like they were playing whatever weird song it was they were playing, and he was like looking over his shoulder at the three of them. Like it was super cheesy. Was it supposed to be super cheesy?
I don't
They
know.
were going, yeah.
are you talking about when he runs out of the camp?
The very, very end. They were playing like, I don't know, Candles in the Wind or some weird song.
It was not.
I don't know what they were playing.
No,
Hold on, I
what
should look it up. It was something weird.
I will look at, you look it up, but to answer your question, yes, they were going for cheesy because that's how movies ended back then.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. It was very,
very
80s
cheesy.
Movies, horror movies. They all had kind of a cheesy. It was a famous song. I just can't think of what it was.
I'll list the songs. Oh, it was The Living Years. It was
The Living
Mike and
Years.
Mechanic.
Yes, Mike and not
Say
Candle in the
it
Wind.
loud, say it loud.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I will say the other thing about it being cheesy like that is you kind of feel it kind of worked, and it also was like, oh wait, but Jingles was the serial killer. Oh yeah, and Livonia was a monster.
Yeah, like are we supposed to like these people? Are we supposed to feel good?
But I kind of did.
Yeah.
That's
Or
funny.
I was happy it was over. I don't know.
Yeah, that too.
I was happy it was over as well. Quite possibly almost the happiest I could have been for an American Horror Story season to be over. Foreshadowing.
It was. So when
Kylie really didn't like this one at all, did she?
2 thumbs down.
Yeah, yep.
Ooh, and that's all the thumbs she had.
I know.
I will say there are parts of the season where I was like, well, this is good that it's not tying into other seasons. We need a palate cleanser. It's getting convoluted. But then they just over-convoluted within the season.
And I think they tied it, just messy.
It was messy. It was messy.
I think we're starting to run into the issue of where they have so much potential. And I think every show does this, where like everything's going to start running together, and they could have tied it, or they shouldn't have tied it into something. They should make their own. I mean, we're about to be on season 10, and didn't it get renewed for 3 more seasons?
Yes, it's up to season 13.
Yeah, they have to, 13. I think another thing that this season suffered from, we brought it up, but I wanted to just put it in this context. American Horror Story does have issues like this throughout all of its seasons, but I feel like it has stronger actors and better suited roles to carry you through a little bit more.
Yes.
So you don't notice those gaps as much.
Well, good segue, Nick, because my next question was to talk about how, Paulson and Peters are not in this season. And so we were looking to Emma Roberts, Billy Lord, some of those other returners. Do you think they helped fill the void, or were you just wanting more?
I was just enjoying watching all of the heads shake in my little room here down here. Everybody is like, no.
We all want more.
I
didn't. Here's what I will say. I love Sarah Paulson and Evan Peters, but I didn't miss them when I was watching this because it felt like such a different, separate thing that I wasn't like that aware of it. In retrospect, I'm like, oh, that could have been her and it would have been better. But while I was watching it, I wasn't like, oh, where are they?
I didn't notice they weren't really in it. I feel like the season was lacking because they weren't. There's still times where I feel like not having Jessica Lange is relying on those other characters, and I don't think when you remove so many of them, and I think Kathy Bates is a strong enough actor to help fill that gap. And what's her name? I can't remember.
What does she play?
She's in Hotel, and her first season is Coven, the voodoo witch.
Oh.
Angela Bassett.
Yeah, like
I almost said Lansbury, and that is his.
she's a good murderer.
Mrs. Potts? Mrs. Potts is in
Solve the murder. We can't.
I think what I was lacking from this season was like an older, seasoned actor. I think we had so many people that were new to the series in this episode, even if this wasn't their first or this season. Even if it was like their second season, I feel like we had so many newbies that it just really didn't feel grounded and it didn't feel supported by like this really young cast. Not that they weren't talented, but I feel like I was kind of missing some of that like older and wiser energy. And what's the word I'm looking for?
Experience?
Yeah.
Like there was something missing.
Yeah,
definitely something missing.
Horror's tough. It's really easy to turn it into the over-the-top cheesiness, and you need someone with that more subtle touch. Like Jessica Lange's insane in this series, but she does it so well, and Sarah Paulson does too, and Evan Peters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I don't necessarily needed Sarah Paulson or Evan Peters. I just think this whole season in itself was lackluster.
Yeah.
I don't like all the other seasons. I mean, even Cult, which I can't stand. I mean, it still had I still think it had things that stood out that made the season okay for me. But like this whole season, this season like had nothing that I was like, wow, I actually like that part, except Donna, of course. But I mean, one character out of the whole season isn't normally how American Horror Story is for me.
I did miss them. I missed Sarah Paulson and I missed Evan Peters because I kept thinking to myself, Eddie keeps using the word potential, and I think potential applies also to these particular actors and actresses. You know, Billy's done some fine work, Emma's done some fine work, Cody's played one role before doing this one, so I don't really have a lot to go on. And I just kept thinking to myself, man, this might have been even remotely... They could have found something... Like, I'm surprised that Evan Peters didn't appear in it at all, when on the other, like, every 3 seasons, like in Coven and Roanoke, he has bit parts that, you know, it's fun when he crops up. Instead, they used Finn Wittrock this season, and that's fine. But I did miss them, and I think it's a lot of the reason why I dislike this season. The writing's bad, it's cheesy, but I also don't think that any of these actors, with the possible exception of John Carroll Lynch and Angelica Ross, I just don't think they were appropriate or equal or really did a very good job. It might not have been them, though. It might have been what they were directed, but that was half my problem with it. I did notice that people were gone, and I kept wondering, why didn't they have them for this season?
Yeah. Like, you know, like in doing theater, like when you have even just a really young cast, but you have a few people in that cast that are like really phenomenal and they know their stuff and they know what they're doing, the rest of the cast rises to meet that level. And I feel like that's a lot of what we were missing is they didn't have somebody in there to help them like meet their full potential and like help that raise their bar. I mean, not saying that anybody was really bad, but it just kind of felt like they were phoning it in almost. It didn't feel like they were really being pushed to where they could have been.
And they're better. Some of them are better in smaller doses. I think Emma Roberts taking the lead this time. I mean, she's a fine actress, but I don't think she carried the season.
Is she though?
Okay, then I'm gonna...
She's not bad.
She's not terrible.
Yeah.
I only liked her in Scream queens. That's it.
Oh. I didn't mind her as Madison in Coven. I thought she plays the mean girl very, very well.
All right, I'll give you that one.
Yeah. But
you just hated Coven, so.
I loved Coven. I loved Coven.
Eddie.
Oh.
No, I love Coven. Where have you been?
It's Emily who doesn't like Coven.
You hated Cult.
Oh,
yeah, Cult was bad.
Wow, I thought you said you hated Coven twice. And I was like,
it was Emily.
Cult. That I understand.
So it seems like they did add a bunch of really awesome guest stars to kind of try to pad this out. I'm going to name some of them because we haven't hit all of them. So we had Lily Rabe, Dylan McDermott, and Finn Wittrock. We had Leslie Jordan, and we talked about Tim Ross. But we also saw Orla Brady, who is in the new season of Picard. So Nick and I were like, oh, how do we know her? And we saw Mitch Pileggi. So all you X-Files fans, we had Skinner. And we also had Don Swayze. And if you don't know his body of work, you certainly recognize him by his face because he looks just like his brother Patrick. So talk to me about them.
Who was he in this season? Don Swayze.
He was in the first episode. He got killed by Jingles right after he
owned a gas station. Did he owned?
I think he played one horror movie trope in being the kind of quirky guy that says, "Turn back, don't go to that gap, you'll die."
Right.
And then he gets crushed by a car, which really that scene of Jingles breaking out and then that scene really reminded me of Halloween 2. I thought that was an homage that worked.
Here's a picture of Don Swayze in American Horror Story.
Right. I remember now.
Oh, yeah.
You're all gonna die.
But he's actually done quite a bit because I looked up his IMDb and he's done a lot. He crops up here and there.
I feel like I already talked about Lily Rabe. Like, we're all like,
yeah,
Lily Rabe.
The guest stars were fine. It's too bad
Yeah.
they had to come in on this season, I guess, is where I'm sitting. I'm planting my flag, guys.
But how stoked out of your mind were you to see Mitch Pileggi? Now, come on.
I mean, I enjoyed him. I enjoyed it. I thought the role was slightly thankless for how well he does as an actor. But it was nice to see him.
Mm-hmm.
He's all over the place these days. It's crazy.
He's a working actor. He gets them, them monies. He gets them. I'm not moderating. I don't have to talk.
Emily, do you know who he is? I don't need a view. Okay, so he's on X-Files. He's like Scully and Mulder's boss.
Oh, okay.
He is like one of their only true allies that they can pretty much count on. So
I have not seen very many episodes of the X-Files, and the ones that I have seen, I was like a child. So it's been a very long time.
You need to go back and rewatch that crap because I think it'd be right up your alley.
Yeah. And then listen to our podcast panel. We did a retrospective on X-Files. You can go back, find it on YouTube or other places where you get
all the places.
The website, yeah.
Perfect.
They're
Probably our
old,
first
so you'd have to go
epic looking back.
It what? Yeah, guys.
Oh god.
Here it is.
Oh gosh.
I want you to tell me how this season ranks. You have to rank all 9 seasons now. Listen. It's going to be okay. If you need to bring them up on your phone to see them, I have my list here. I'll even go first or I will go last. I don't care. Whatever you like, but you have to do it.
I forgot. I forgot that it was going to happen.
I have it.
I already have it.
Okay, you go.
I need to look at the list now, though, because there's 9. And so I need to make sure that I didn't forget any. So just bear with me 1 second, which you can now use as a stalling technique as you generate your own lists. Okay? Okay. So,
I wish I could remember how I ranked it last time.
Me too.
I always think that I need to go back and do that and listen to the last episode so I can figure out what my ranking is, and then I always forget to do it until we're sitting right here.
My top 3 never changed. So I mean,
I'm going.
Yeah.
Okay, here goes Kylie's top list. You want to go 9 to 1. So your least favorite to your favorite.
Number 9 is Cult.
Cult.
Oh.
Number 8 is 1984.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7 is Hotel. Number 6 is Asylum. Number Sorry. Number 5 is Freak Show. Yes. Number 4 is Apocalypse. Number 3 is Roanoke. Number 2 is Coven. Number 1 is Murder House. Murder House remains my favorite season to this day.
That is really close to mine, I think.
Well, let's
It's
hear
really
yours.
close.
Let's hear yours, Kelly.
Mine would be Cult. Oh, boy. Okay. I'm looking at the list. Cult, 1984, Apocalypse, Freak Show. No. Sorry. Hotel, Freak Show. No. I'm sorry. I can't. Wait. Okay, wait. Let me try one more time. Cult, 1984, Hotel, Asylum, Freak Show, Apocalypse, Coven, Roanoke. Did I say Asylum?
I don't know.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Murder House and Coven and Roanoke and Apocalypse are my most favorite. Not necessarily in that order, just to let you know.
I hate that we're doing this in reverse order.
Backwards?
I feel like I can do it.
It's harder.
Okay, well, if you can, I guess I don't care.
I'll go next. I wrote them all down.
Eddie's got it.
Okay. 9 is Cult, 8 is 1984, 7 is Freak Show, 6 is Roanoke, 5 Hotel, 4 Apocalypse, 3 Murder House, 2 Asylum, 1 Coven.
Coven is your favorite.
Good
list.
Done. Emily, ready?
I'm going to go the other way, my favorite to my least favorite, because that's easier for me to try and remember.
That's fine.
Okay.
The listeners can play it in reverse. So that.
Okay. Murder House, I think Roanoke, Freak Show, Asylum, Hotel, Coven, no, Apocalypse Before Hotel. Apocalypse Before Hotel. This is so hard.
It's so
I
hard.
forgot Apocalypse. Okay, Murder House, Asylum, Roanoke, Hotel, Apocalypse, 1984, Cult. I missed one. Which one did I miss? Coven. Week ahead of Cult.
Didn't you already say
But
Coven?
yeah, Coven's the one I missed.
I thought Coven was 7.
No, because I don't like Coven. Coven's, I don't even know anymore. I don't know.
I didn't like Coven at first, and then I
Who knows?
rewatched it, and I was like, I like this way better.
I have to rewatch it yet. I talked about it last time we recorded.
Mhm.
I need to rewatch it as well. But
So you
yeah,
had,
for now.
you had
Just so you all know, I cheated. I've been writing these down since we started.
good
It's
idea.
not cheating. That's just
Smart.
That's just smart.
I couldn't find a pen.
You had
Nicholas?
Roanoke at number 2, Emily?
Roanoke, I think I had it number 3. I had Freak
2 or
Show
3.
at number 2.
Got it. Okay.
Murder House, Freak Show, Roanoke. Yeah, I know those 3.
Okay, I think I have mine. Number 9, Cult. Number 8, 1984. 7, Hotel. 6, Roanoke. 8. 8.
Numbers.
How do numbers work? 5, Apocalypse. 4 is Season 4, Freak Show. 3 is Asylum. 2, Coven. 1, Murder House.
Number 9, Roanoke, because I hate that POS. That you love.
Disagree.
Number 8, Cult. Number 7, Hotel. Number 6, Asylum. Number 5, 1984. Number 4, Murder House. Number 3, Apocalypse. Number 2, Freak Show. And number 1,
Number 1
Coven.
is Coven. It's always Coven.
But I will say between my 1 and 4, those are all really close. I love Coven,
I agree.
Apocalypse, Freak Show, and Murder House. And I need to give Asylum is the one that I need to rewatch. So it is my 6, but I don't have a clear remembrance for a lot
I
of
didn't
them.
like Asylum until I rewatched it again.
But I did.
Sarah, would you rewatch Roanoke?
Do I have to?
No. You don't have to, but would you?
Yeah, I mean, no, maybe. I don't know. There's so many other good things to watch that we're covering for this podcast. Here's my thing with Roanoke. I just did not enjoy watching it. I recognize in my far brain that it's an enjoyable piece of television for all of you and that it was well made and there's talented people in it, but I just was miserable watching it. I couldn't enjoy it. So that's not a reflection on anything but my weirdness.
You're not weird. That's okay.
Kind of how I felt
Did you
about
guys
this
know
season.
that among like the fans, that Asylum is usually ranked number 1, and the critics agree. I did a lot of research on this, and I thought I just thought Murder House was going to win. I thought most people enjoyed that, but it seems like Asylum is the one people are going with.
I think it's because it's everybody's favorite character. Jessica Lange's, like, that's by far my favorite character she's played is Asylum.
Asylum would rank higher for me if it didn't involve the aliens. Yes. It would have been it would have actually been a near perfect season, but that was just a very anticlimactic ending for which I judged them, and it kind of squandered all of the good, including this Sister Agnes, is that her name? Jessica Lange stuff. It made it feel cheap to me. And I love the X-Files. I love science fiction. Was not expecting it in my American Horror Story. Thank you very much.
And I don't need Nazis in there with the aliens. It just didn't all, but I need to rewatch it because I don't remember a lot of it, and maybe I will like it more.
Maybe someday if pandemics kill the TV industry, it'll be worth going back and watching all the seasons of American Horror Story, but I might skip Cult because that's too real.
You guys like Freak Show way better than me. I didn't like Freak Show at all.
I love Freak Show.
Freak Show good.
Do you guys think maybe they'll do a American Horror Story pandemic season? Ooh.
I would hate it.
Yeah.
Well, we all would, but
Don't you think it would be boring?
I don't want it.
Like, it would just be a bunch of people in their houses watching TV. Like, that's what it is.
And then there's going to be one gay star that decides to go halfway across the country to, like, help
to work. And then,
Ryan Murphy,
so the
your
one
cast is
gay
here.
man, the one gay man goes across the country to work, and the rest of us whine about planting our gardens.
Exactly.
That's what it is. It does.
There'd be a lot of people baking bread.
Yeah, I would rather.
Homemade bread.
Yeah.
Homemade bread and homemade masks.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yep.
Are you guys going to keep watching the next 4 more seasons?
Yeah, whenever we get it.
Why would I stop now?
Exactly.
Well, so we won't be able to do a podcast for 2 years, right?
At least a year and a half. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because they don't think they're going to release. They're not going to release this next season this year.
Yeah, the big clue, although I only think that's part of it, is that Ryan Murphy went into press and said that he was planning this season around specific weather. Now, I don't know if he's still planning on doing that. I think generally the TV studios have had to push back all of their normal production schedule, and that feeds into it, but I actually just looked at that today. That's been the rumor, is that he had some sort of weather-related...
Which relates to him saying that they could only record during a certain time for this season because he needs a certain type of weather.
Oh, I thought you meant it was going to be about weather.
No.
Like, that's not interesting.
Not necessarily. Maybe it'll kind of play into it, but he's looking like whatever this season is, it needed to be recorded like in a specific time period.
I love that Sarah's like, what does this have to do with climate change?
It is scary.
What's it about?
Nobody knows.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, is there anything else you guys want to say about this season that we didn't cover?
No, but, American Horror Story, dear Ryan Murphy and Brad Falchuk, if you're going to go for something like homage-y again, do better.
Do better. Yeah, that's about it. Please try and do better, because it was... Yeah.
Well, okay. On that note, I'm going to kick it back to Kylie.
Thanks, Sarah. And thanks for moderating our American Horror Story 1984 episode. And thanks to Nick and Callie and Eddie and Emily for joining us both and talking about 1984. And because we've gone back to the past, it's now time to go back to the future and roll the credits. Couch Potatoes Unite! Was produced by Back Pocket Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, which is really another way of saying executively produced by me, Kylie Piette. My associate producers are Krista Pennington and Selene Rezmer. I edit this podcast, and our logo is by Rebecca Wallace. Our marketing graphic artist is Krista. Our theme song was written by Sarah Milbratz and sung by Sarah, Amy McDaniel, and Kelsey Rezmer. Kelsey played the keyboard, Ian McDonough played the bass, Christian Somerville played the guitar, and the whole kit and caboodle was engineered and produced by Kyle Aspinall and Christian. We hail from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or wherever you find your podcasts. Give us stars, give us comments, give us reviews. Let us know how we're doing. Send us a message. We might just read it on the podcast. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what we should keep, what we should toss. You know how it goes. And if you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, where we have a guest book, via email at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via our social media, Facebook, Twitter at CPU Podcast, and Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite. Though, of course, we add new and old shows to chat about around the water cooler all the time. We always have several more new episodes coming down the pike. Just listen to our intros. And if you miss old episodes or want to know in general what we cover, just find us. We are everywhere and searchable wherever you look for things on the internet. You can search for us, or you can subscribe at our website, our channels, our social media accounts. Stay up on our new events and episodes. Until the next time, American Horror Story is available to stream in its entirety on Hulu. In the meantime, our American Horror Story series panel will next reconvene to discuss Season 10, the subtitle and release date of which have not yet been announced at the time of recording. We only know that any premiere will likely be delayed until 2021 due to the global pandemic. So until next time, until next episode, new episodes post every Wednesday. Keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned!
Bye.